Hello and welcome to Optimum Live. My name is Martin Crowson, and today I'm delighted to be joined by the MD of Optimum Derby, Tom Heeley. Hi, Tom.
Hi, Martin. You okay?
Yeah, good, thank you. Apart from that 2 or 3 second lag, we're all good. We are going to be attempting to teach you on Optimum Live more about common injuries that don't just affect professional footballers or sportsmen and women, but also protect amateur sports people as well. The shows will be short and sharp, giving you some valuable information and tools to work with, not only to help you recover from injuries, but to prevent them too. Today on our first Optimum Live, we're going to start with a torn Achilles. And for those of you that follow the NFL, many people will know that the New York Jets quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, has been suffered a season-ending torn Achilles just minutes into his opening game. So it's a really serious injury. And Tom, over to you. Just tell us, what is a torn Achilles and why do they rupture?
So I suppose, first of all, to talk about the Achilles. So the Achilles is a structure that's just above your calcaneus, so just at the back of your heel. Travels up towards the back of your knee and stops about halfway up your calf. And then you've got two big chunky muscles, you've got your gastrocnemius and your soleus, and those two muscles which point your toes feed into your Achilles, and that runs down into the heel, and that points your toes down. So essentially, those two big muscles there feed into your Achilles tendon. Now, tendons are pretty stiff and shouldn't really stretch too much, but they will do a little bit, but not too much. We want the muscles to be able to contract and relax, and that provide the tension onto the tendon to provide the pull on the bone and provide the movement. So generally speaking, what will happen is so in Aaron Rodgers' case, what he's tried to do is he's tried to push off, and as he's tried to push off, he's created more tension than what the tendon can take and tolerate, and the muscles aren't able to absorb that. And what's happened is you can almost see it, the tendon recoils back up into the knee and up into the calf. So it's basically an overstretch or an overforce that the tendon and the muscles can't tolerate.
And what happens after they rupture?
So after sort of an injury like that, it would typically sort of go non-weight bearing to something like a crutches or a boot, and then visit a specialist. And from there, there's a couple of options. You can either go for a surgical option, or you can go for a non-surgical option. So the surgical would be to normally just stitch the two bits back together. So the end that's sort of up near the knee, and then the piece that sort of should be down by the heel, stitch those two pieces together. Or sometimes a non-operative treatment method or modality would be just to allow that tendon to recover. So put the foot into a pointed position, so point the toes down, bring the heel and the knee as close to possible, and be in a boot with sort of a toes pointed position. And over a period of weeks, then start to bring it back into a neutral, and eventually sort of bring your toes up. And in that period of time, the tendon will knit itself back together. Generally speaking, timeframes are about the same. So recovery-wise, both will take about the same sort of time. If you're looking to return back to professional sport, generally speaking, tend to go down the surgical option. It's got the success rate is very similar, but the trust is just there a little bit higher on the surgical option. Obviously, you have got the risk of surgery and what that might entail. But down the other side, on the operative side, generally speaking, more sort of amateur or even Joe Bloggs sort of individuals who would just want to recover and get back to normal, they would go down that route, generally speaking.
Okay. 3 questions. Going back first, how painful is it? Because it sounds like a painful injury, and people say you can hear a pop or a tear. Secondly, how challenging is that for a surgeon to stitch those two parts of the tendon back together again? And thirdly, what's the success rate if you do go down the surgery route generally?
Yeah, so first one, it will be painful. It will be really painful. And actually, you'll hear an audible pop. So I've been at the side of the pitch before where someone's ruptured their Achilles and you can hear it. It's a big ping. Imagine like an elastic band, a massive elastic band going pop. Really big bang, really loud noise, and very painful. And as soon as it's happened, it will be sore. The strange thing is you might not feel pain straight because the tendon will hold a lot of nerve endings. So if the tendon was still sort of intact and touching, then you may actually, but torn, you may actually experience more pain. But with a full rupture, the nerve endings tend to have been damaged as well. So actually, it might not be ridiculously painful straight away. And some people try to stand up and just jump up and stand up, and often look around as if to say, has anybody sort of kicked me or pushed me over? And there's nobody there. Jump back up and then can't stand on it and just fall straight back over again. So yeah, it'll be loud and painful, and as soon as that happens, I'll know something serious has gone on. Secondly, about the surgery. So surgery and for the surgeon to operate on and repair those pieces is fairly routine now. So this has become a fairly common occurrence. It used to be a bit of a career ender sort of 25, 30 years ago. A little bit less so now. Surgery's quite, I wouldn't say straightforward, but it's fairly routine. And then the success rate. So success rate is pretty high. So unless you're a bit silly in the early stages or you've got some complications, generally speaking, you follow the protocol and follow the rehabilitation and get some good guidance, and actually you should go through the process without too many issues, and return back to running, top end sport, whatever you want to return
to. Okay, so the injury's been done. What does rehab look like? And is this an injury that people have to be very wary of in terms of re-injuring the damaged area in future? Is something to be particularly wary of?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so sort of the early stage will be boot bearing. So either you have the operation or you go sort of down the non-operative route, and you'll certainly be in a boot for that period of time, and maybe even crutches as well. So the first part will follow a similar sort of protocol of wearing the boot, and that boot will be with toes pointed, and then gradually over time bring it into a sort of a flat foot position.
Okay.
That'll be very similar down what route you go on, but then the rehabilitation will also be very similar. The only couple of things that will really change is you'll probably be able to start walking on the non-operative one earlier, which is better for sort of your Joe Blogs or people who just want to get back to moving. But rehabilitation is really key, really key. And you've got an early window where you've got to be a bit careful and you've got to be a bit cautious about what you do. And then after that, it's just about going through the stages correctly, going from your simple stuff, sort of your calf raises, you're building your strength, and you're building your full leg strength, and then the full body, then incorporating some sort of landing work and jumping, hopping, and progressing all the way through to return back to running, hopping, jumping, changing direction, that sort of work. But you need to almost set yourself markers as to what you need to achieve to move on to each stage, rather than just focusing on time, because time doesn't always say that it's healed. Time might just give you an indicator that things are knitted, but it doesn't tell you whether you're any stronger. It just tells you that things have closed up a little bit. So the real key thing is, can you do this exercise? No. Okay, we'll stay here. If you can, then we'll move on to the next one.
And I guess that's why it's pretty important that you've got somebody, you know, an expert in the field like yourself, you know, taking somebody through that recovery. And the sports you've been involved with in the past, you know, all sorts of sports, but specifically like crickets and rugby's and footballs, you must have helped lots of people recover from torn Achilles. What does that rehab look like from your perspective? And is it a case of keeping a close eye on progressions in exercises that we're just saying, maybe sending people videos and you know, seeing how they're doing?
Yeah, completely. The rehabilitation doesn't really change whether you come to the clinic here or I'm working with a sports team or a club or a team outside of here. The rehabilitation shouldn't really change. The time scales might change. Things might take a little bit longer because people haven't got as much time to train, and it's not their full-time job, and so things may take a little bit longer to kind of progress. But generally speaking, the actual overall markers and objectives won't really change. You're only safe to return to this if you can do these 5 or 6 steps beneath it. So yeah, there's no point jumping straight up here if you haven't ticked off these boxes, because the likelihood of you re-injuring then starts to creep up and become higher, and you just put yourself at more risk, really. So yeah, so we tend to work off a objective model, and we'll do that over stages, and that might be in clinic here, where you receive emails or texts or videos, quick little text messages to see how you're getting on. Can you do this? Have you been able to do that? If you can, then try this before you next come in. And if so, then here's a video to follow, and link back to the YouTube videos that we've got on site as well.
Yeah. Do you have any particular methods of measuring how that response is coming? Any techniques, machines, for example?
Yeah, so in the early stage, it's very simple. So it might just be measuring range of movement. That could be with a tape measure or something really simple, nothing too fancy. And then further on down the line, and this is more looking at global strength. So whether that's just the Achilles, or we're looking further than that. I think if we look at the whole leg, you might want to look at some hopping distances or jumping distances. But then also we use the gatherer systems here, which is a piece of kit which will objectively measure the amount of strength that you can put. So whether that's just pushing your toes, and we'll measure how much force you can generate here, or whether it's bringing your heel towards your bum, and we'll measure your hamstrings. With an injury like this, because of the time it takes to recover, it's really key to make sure that the whole leg is nice and strong, rather than just focusing just below the knee. Let's focus on the whole thing and make sure that we can cope with absorbing that force again through the whole chain, rather than just that little component at the bottom. So we use the gatherer systems quite a bit to check the hips, check the knee, and check the foot as well, and just see how things are progressing, and focus our rehab a little bit more onto those areas that need it.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, how much an injury to a certain part of your body can affect the other parts somewhere near it, and it's not quite as easy as just fixing that one area that we're focused on. Other things can have some effect on it too.
Yeah, it'd be amazing if you could just focus on that little bit and it would fix the whole thing, but no, it doesn't work like that. And actually, like in the early stages, there's still a lot of stuff you can do. So there's still a lot of work you can do in the upper leg as well. So there's no reason why you can't do upper body exercises, core exercises, but also focus a little bit higher up the chain as well, and keep as much muscle mass as possible, so that you don't have to start from ground zero again. You can at least got some sort of a base to push on. Okay,
great stuff. Run out of time, Tom. Finishes off. What can people do if they're struggling and or they're suffered from a similar injury and want to get in touch?
If you've got any questions, by all means, just drop some comments down below. So you can either drop a little message in there, and we'll look to get back to you as quickly as you can, or drop us an email, tom.heeley@optimum-derby.co.uk. And again, just ask any questions away about your Achilles, and we'll look to get back to you as soon as possible.
Great. Thanks for your time, mate, as ever. Much appreciated. Thank you very much for watching today, whichever platform you've been watching us on. And if you want to find out any more about Optimum Derby and how they can help you in terms of recovering from injuries or preventing injuries, please check out the website, which is on the bottom of the screen at the moment. That just leaves me, Martin Crowe, some time to say thanks very much for joining us today. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Over the coming weeks, we're doing lots more of these short fix broadcasts to help you get through some of the most common injuries that sportsmen and sportswomen put up with. Tom, thanks again. Folks, thanks a lot for watching, and we'll catch up with you soon. Thank you, and bye-bye.
Thank you very much, everyone.